Drunk and you was on my mind, babe. Driving home drunk and I was thinking about us. Driving home drunk and you was on my mind, babe. Driving home drunk and I was thinking about us. Are you thinking about me? Cause I'm thinking about you. Fuck it, let me go and turn this feature off. Don't be drinking brown when you're too in love. Don't be drinking crown when you're too in love. Too much to deal with, was the drugs. And he got me angry, I need a hug. But I'm drunk, yeah, I'm drunk, let me feel the bud. Swerving lane to lane in my partner's truck. I'm forgetting that he got announced in the
Yeah, we're
club.
live. Lavoelife Sermons, Bugsy Lavo. I'm out here with a very, I know I've said that for like the past few guests, very special, but this guy right here, we just had a real brief conversation off air. A lot of boss talk. A lot of boss talk. This is a very illustrious guest. And he is, matter of fact, introduce yourself, let them know who you are and what you do.
Appreciate the amazing introduction. I mean, my name's Ray, last name Guilbault, Ray Guilbault, 89 Clothing. I'm the founder and the creative director of that brand.
So let's talk about that, man. How did 89 get to fruition?
It was actually a very long but very simple short story. I was in retail, so I went kind of from hustling everything I can get my hands on to hustling up a retail store. And then we started doing kind of custom clothing for our clients.
But what do you mean hustle up a retail store? You pretty much like...
Well, yeah, I have my own retail store, but I got that by hustling. Back then it was selling, Jordans, Air Forces, jerseys, that type of thing. So, and I was hustling jerseys and Jordans and Air Forces at a very high level. And then eventually, if you want the real story, eventually I was selling to a retailer in Miami that got in a little bit over his head and had a bill bigger than what he could pay. So in exchange for that bill, I ended up getting his store. And that's how I come to have my first retail store in Miami in the flea market. He was a gentleman about it, but he just got a little bit in too far over his head, and that's what we worked out. So I took control of the store, and then I added my inventory, and then that was how I had my first retail location in Miami. And then from there, we were making custom clothes, and that was this is before Cavi was popping. So we were doing work shirts and Dickies with patches.
But was that always something you wanted to get into, like clothing, or
Nah, I was just selling sneakers and jerseys. So I was always working, but I was always hustling, and that hustle at the time was popping, and it was very with the relationships that we had already built very quickly overseas. It was it was very lucrative, and it was obviously very safe. So we were just selling sneakers and jerseys, and that shit just grew. And eventually we ended up getting the retail store over a debt. And then I opened a bigger store and a bigger store and a bigger store. And then I got a second store, and it just kind of grew from there. But how the brand started is that we were making custom clothes. And
hold on real quick. Where did you get all this hustle from though? Because, I don't know. It's I don't know. Nowadays I see, with millennials is they're pretty much lazy, So where did all of this ambition and all of this drive come from?
So technically, I was born 1 year before the classification of a millennial. So if you Google what is a millennial, I beat it by 1 year, and that has nothing to do with shit. But I grew up in Boston, and my parents worked their asses off to, as very young people. They were very young when I was born.
Yeah.
So as young people, they had worked their asses off, and things didn't always go how they wanted them to be. But
were you selling candy in school and
it's not really like that. People always use that example, and it's all right, great, you sold candy in school, but no, I was fucking mowing lawns and doing labor type shit. I was where I lived, when I was in middle school. By that time, my mom worked in a diner. So I was there at 12 washing dishes. So that was my hustle. So I didn't need to sell candy at school. I had a job at 12. At 13 or 14, and my job was 7 miles away, and I used to have to find my own way to get there because I had to be there at 6.
Yeah.
And my mom worked, restaurant business. So Friday night, she's coming home at 2 in the morning from the restaurant. I got to be at the diner at 6. She's not having that shit. So I'm up on my bike, just riding. But anyway, so to answer that question, the hustle just comes from, having parents that worked their ass off and then sacrificed, but not for Jordans. I never had Jordans. I never had Polo. I never had any of that. They just worked their ass off to have, the necessities.
Enough, yeah.
And then a stability where they could build from. So, now to this day, they're doing very well for themselves, but they were young. When I was out of their house and my father was 34, 35 probably. So by that age, I'm already gone on my own.
Yeah.
So based on their hard work, they were able to live a really good life after that. but at 21, 22 years old, you know what I mean? So anyway, my hustle comes from the fact that we had lights on, we had enough to get by, that we had the basic fundamentals, but if you want more than that, you gotta go fucking get it. So how are you gonna get it? And it would start with little things like, all right, well, you're 5, well, feed the dog, I'll give you $2. Okay, you're 7, feed the cat, I'll give you $3. And it's stuff like that, and then, you know.
Shit, not to play in the stereotype, my shit was cut the grass.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah, cut the grass.
What's the stereotype? Let me guess. Are you Mexican?
Or
Spanish.
Okay. All Spanish guys like, you
cut
know,
the grass. Nah, I said it first. I was mowing fucking lawns. I mean, I was really out there mowing lawns, and it starts from, you know, my pops was like, yo, I'll give you $5 to mow this lawn, and I'm like, I know you're underpaying me. You're my pops. Like, so I went to the neighbor. I'm like, yo, $15.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
So, yo, $15. Fuck
all
yeah.
around the block.
What the hell? Exactly. So, you know, I think one summer I might even had a flyer or something like.
A flyer?
Who knows?
Wow.
I'm like, you know, printed on like orange paper or something. You cut it in little 4s or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like cutting lawns was a big part of my hustle. It was more of just, you know, back then it was like labor stuff. Like, what can you do? It was, I had a job, and I've always had a hustle. So I think that's, you know, kind of something important for people that are trying to figure out how to like make it or find their way. It's 2017 and we're in America. So America is designed to make you want more shit and then work your ass off to go get it, so that you can't really pay attention to a lot of the other things that are going on. You can't be involved in that type of stuff. So they keep you busy.
Now, with all that being said, how did the 8 and 9 brand come together?
You know, I think anytime you're starting a business, you really want to just look to the people that are around you. Yeah. So you're like, all right, I got this idea. And, you know, Figs, who's my partner, he's been with me since the beginning. I called him. He was the one I was selling sneakers with. I called him like, yo, we about to do this clothing line. What do you mean? I'm like, yo, like Echo, Sean John, like we about to go get like 300 million. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he's like, and he's literally said straight up, he's like, that sounds really hard. I was like, I'll call you later, man. You know, and got rid of him. And, you know, it took him a little while to come around. But, you know, I always had Figs there that was like, you know, willing to put in the work. I had a partner that I, you know, sought out because he had skills that I didn't have. He was an actual graphic designer, whereas me, like, I'm more of a creative director. You know, I know what the end result is. And, you know, having a good graphic designer will get you to the end result. So basically, when I knew that I was going to go forward with the clothing line, I just started figuring out who do I know that knows somebody that can help me build a team. And then I just reached out to, you know, people, and you talk to, you know, whatever, 4 or 5 people. They don't have the same vision. They're off the fucking list. And you just find people that are like-minded and get it and want to move forward. And that's what I did. So I built the team, and then I just started the process of making clothes.
Damn. And what year was this?
There was no Alibaba. I'll tell you that. This is like 2001. Yeah, this is 2001 because we did our first production the same year, September 11th, and we were scheduled to have a holiday delivery, and we couldn't get our goods out of Pakistan at that time. So you know, it's just very early stage learnings of how, you know, I'm 21 years old. I'm selling sneakers and working, slinging drinks in a bar. Like, I'm just trying to get as much money as possible from every single angle. And now I'm dealing with like how, you know, global politics affect my ability to import goods from a foreign country and my ability to flip this pack and get this money. So it was just really kind of strong, like hard lessons to learn very early. But that's, you know, the prices of a master's degree.
What was like the reception when you guys first started?
On a wholesale level, we were very fortunate because a friend of mine who I reached out to, his father was the like head of sales for Ralph Lauren for 30 years or something. So, you know, the old man went in the Rolodex, and he was, you know, very gracious, and he said, look, here's the 25 stores that carry Ralph Lauren but also carry Urban. And at the time, it was like, you know, the Urban brands. Like, who knows? I can't even remember what was popping at the time, but it was like
Rockaware.
Bee's Knees. This might have been, but this is like before Rockaware, I feel like. This is 2001. I feel like Rockaware might not have been until a little bit after, like 03, 04. Yeah. But yeah, so he opened the Rolodex, and, you know, he didn't make any calls for us, but he said, yo, these are the guys that you want to talk to, and this is how you do it. So we had my boy called all the stores and just tried to get a meeting, and we got some meetings. We didn't get others. And then when we went online, it was just, you know, very early stages of everything. It was, you know, how do we market? Who knows? Probably MySpace back then. This could have been before MySpace, to be honest with you. But that's what I'm saying. So it was just put your website up and then go tell everybody about it. And once we lost our goods in Pakistan, we couldn't get everything out. We had to cancel our wholesale orders and really go hand to hand with it. So what we did at that point was just leverage all the people around us, like, you know, the DJs, the artists. You know, we had a show car club. We had a stunt motorcycle club. We had all these different things that were like really tied into the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then we started doing pop-up shops. So what we would do is we would work with one of the DJs that we were cool with, and then we would do Saturday events. So we would get the DJ booked for the night, so the club would book the DJ, and then we would come to them with this revenue plan to monetize their Saturday afternoon. So like club owners had never heard of a way to make money on a fucking Saturday afternoon. So we would basically throw an event during the day where if you come and make a purchase, then you could get back in the club at night.
Wow.
So we bring them cars out, bring them bikes out, and then that's just the way we did a pop-up shop. And people weren't even calling it pop-up shops like that. We were just taking over the club and fucking selling clothes. But we just tied it into the resources we had. So the point is, we were able to build the brand and get some excitement from people just because of the way we moved and the people that were around us and the like-minded individuals that supported the brand.
Damn.
So it was pretty crazy when you really look back on it and think about it like that. But to us, it was just like we had to do what we had to do.
All that being said, right? You just ran through a whole fucking list of shit. We're gonna get into it. How do you feel about all these people that just sell graphics on T-shirts and call themselves a clothing line, as opposed to you, who runs an actual brand?
You know about DJ Premier?
Yeah.
Like Premier, if you get a Premier beat, you probably don't even need a hook.
Yeah.
He's a craftsman. People know the difference. It's like, what are you trying to do with your career? Like a lot of people, like Premier could do what a lot of people do, but can a lot of people do what Premier does?
Probably not.
So when I look at clothing lines and brands and just businesses, I think it's like, what are you setting out to do? What is your goal? So we wanted to build a brand. I set out to build a brand, like something that stands for something that has an identity that people know immediately. I see 8 and 9, it stands for such and such. If you see somebody in an 8 and 9 shirt, like you're more likely to get punched in the face than you are to like go golfing with that person. So that's an identity, and that's what the brand stands for. And it's a simple example and it's trite, but the point is that when you have an identity and you have a brand, people that have a similar lifestyle and are like-minded gravitate towards it. So I set out to build a brand. I never set out to like build a clothing line or to sell the most T-shirts. Like, I could have sold mad more T-shirts by doing a lot of different things.
Yeah, because you guys also, one thing that I've noticed, you guys also have like a YouTube channel, and you guys, they're kind of like documentaries in a sense, right? Because like, for example, I saw something with Convertible Bird. Yeah. How did you decide to go into that field?
So the In the Trenches series was really important because it was like, how do we find moments of our schedule where we can like block it out to show people what the lifestyle is about, and people get to get a feel for how that person interacts with the brand, or like how we do something at SneakerCon, but we just don't have the time to do it every day.
Yeah, but even though you guys don't do it every day, it's still, at least to me, just watching it, it's still impactful. It still resonates with me. Which is
great because we chose to do In the Trenches videos on people that are very significant to the brand.
Exactly.
Or that are, I guess, culturally relevant, like Convertible Bird. Like if you know what's up, you know what's up.
Yeah.
So then you want to kind of hear his story and follow that, and then you might learn about his association with the brand, which is the same association with the brand as everybody. It's just real, recognize real. And like-minded individuals will kind of stick together to do something. So In the Trenches just came from us wanting to showcase some of the things that we do, and then putting the spotlight on the people that that we work with that are around us. Like I know Freehand had one, I know Convertible Bird had one. We did one for SneakerCon. We did In the Trenches Pork and Beans because that's anybody from Miami knows what's up already, and that's going to be gone soon, and that's going to be a very different thing. And I was here and I watched.
It's gonna be a coffee shop or something like.
Yeah, and it won't go that far. It's just gonna be different. And I was here and I saw when the Scott's projects were taken down, and they displaced everybody and kind of gave me their little vouchers and was like, oh yeah, you can come back over here later. And like I watched how it worked, and they're gonna do the same thing with the Pork and Beans, but in quadrants. But anyway, so just in terms of Miami. It was important for us to kind of, show, what's going on there and do the In the Trenches series. And like I said, my business comes from USA Flea Market, 79th Street and 30th Avenue. So, my ties to, that story, it is what it is. So it's something that we wanted to do.
Definitely. Now, originally how I heard about you guys was they used to film the Drink Champs episodes at your store, at your guys' store. Yeah. How did that come about?
Drink Champs has been just a good. They're friends and they became a partner. But it's twofold. It's I had a relationship with Nori because Jadakiss actually introduced me to Nori.
Yeah, see, that's another thing too, because you guys are mainly based out of Miami, but I see like a lot of, artists or just, celebrities from other cities and other states wearing your stuff. Like,
how that comes about is from obviously our online distribution.
Yeah.
People have money to spend, they buy what they want. Mm-hmm. So, our site's very accessible. We're on Karma. People can pick up the product. And then we partner with our retailers or stores that sell exclusive sneakers. Elevating your sneakers is like a big part of 8 and 9 culture. It's like design stuff to make the sneaker look better.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people have found our brand that way. And then obviously being a staple in Miami and having so much support from hip hop, it's like with Nori, perfect example. So Kiss and I had a relationship, and he's like, yo, Nori wants to come by. He needs something for a video or whatever. I'm like, dude, come on, let's go. And that's how I met Nori. And then that was probably years before Drink Champs even happened. And then during that same couple years, EFN and I had, mutual respect for each other. And when Drink Champs, it was like the first episode, me, Naps and Peso and the whole team, we were just talking like, yo, this Drink Champs shit is going to be big. And like that same, 5 minutes later, my email rang and it was EFN like, yo, this Drink Champs shit is going to be big. We got to do something. But it just goes to show you how when you kind of have that respect with certain people and things bubble, it's like it's not the universe, it's just kind of logic. Like Drink Champs knew what they were about to do. I saw what Drink Champs was about to do, and the synergy was just already there because of the work that we put in, like before they were popping or before we were popping.
Yeah.
So that makes it, something a little bit different. So there'll always be that loyalty there. So Drink Champs has been great for us, and what they got going on this year, and with our new spot,
their growth has been amazing.
Yeah, and it's I think they just hit 50 million listens, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You're talking about two people that, aren't traditionally, media types. They're not, people that are really attracting attention to themselves. EFN especially is super, just low key. So for him to put himself out there like that and to take that risk and for it to, really pay off for them, is great. And obviously Nori, wasn't thinking the way he is now when EFN was hounding him to do the show. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to see them, take something they were doing anyway that was like generally cool on like a hip hop clubhouse vibe, and then just bring it out to the mainstream. And then obviously, the support that Revolt has for it, it's just going to be huge because they haven't even started rolling out their episodes for season 2 yet.
Yeah.
But as that happens, you'll see a lot more 8 and 9 and a lot more Drink Champs, and obviously a lot more really good guests.
Now I have another question also. This is pertaining back more so to the clothing. I had a conversation with she was like an older lady. She was into
like 70 or like 40.
Maybe like 60.
Okay, so older.
60. Yeah, so older. And she pretty much told me, she kind of said that there's no money in clothing anymore. There's no way to be successful in clothing anymore. She said so many people are doing it. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of pointed out the examples of like, Macy's, JCPenney, like all these huge, retailer stores closing down. Is it still something, because at a certain point in time, especially with hip hop, it felt like everybody had a clothing line. I think like Outkast had one, Nelly had one, Eminem had one. Is it still?
But that's like 7. There's like 7 clothing lines. Right now, there's like 7,000 hip hop clothing lines.
Yeah. Well, successful? Not
successful
really.
Is different too, because were any of them brands successful? They just had distribution. Yeah. Just because Macy's picks you up and you're in the store for a couple months doesn't mean you're successful. Because Macy's will make sure they get their margins no matter what. So your product's gonna sell, or you don't get a check.
Yeah. So
regardless.
So is it? Can you still be successful in the clothing? Like, as you guys are people that I see that are successful. Is it still?
Like, imagine how successful. So merch is popping, right?
Yeah.
So imagine how successful Justin Bieber is when he adds, $2 million in revenue to his tour by making bootleg Metallica shirts. It's fucking successful.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So success is definitely different. Like when Jay and, if you look at kind of the flow, like Jay and Diddy were business moguls after Russell Simmons.
Right.
So you see, I guess even FUBU probably would have, on a hip hop business level, I think FUBU would have probably influenced Fat Farm.
Yeah, definitely.
So then Russell has Fat Farm now, which was on some hip hop Argyle shit. It's like, You know, he was trying to make it like super clean, like not street at all. He wanted to do some country club. Like everything was Argyle. So, you know, Jay and Diddy were like, well, damn, you know, FUBU existed. Russell Simmons had Fat Farm. I need a clothing line too. And then you couple that with the fact that brands is trying to chase you because now hip hop is global. They trying to make you wear these clothes. And you know, with the entrepreneurial spirit they had, they weren't having it. They're like, well, I'm gonna fucking make my own clothes. Now I'm gonna own this shit myself. So then they went, did 300-400 million. Simultaneously, Echo was booming. Echo floated
I just read
the look.
his book, by the way. Amazing.
Oh,
man.
branded, unbranded or something. Yeah. It was good. It was a little textbooky for me, but you just gotta be prepared to like get in that headspace. But yeah, so then you know, Echo did the thing for G Unit, and at the time, Echo did like $1.2 billion in sales in a year. Like fucking Echo, $1.2 billion. Like that's hip hop. That's crazy. That number is so staggering. So to answer your question, no, that can never happen again. Like no hip hop clothing brand is ever making a fucking $1 billion ever again. It's impossible. It's completely impossible. I don't believe that any hip hop brand will ever make $200 million again. And at that time, you had, you know, Rockaware, Sean John, G Unit, Echo, whatever the hell other brands. There's probably 6 or 7 brands making $200, $300 million, $400 million. Like those days are over. So the generation after that, you had T.I. and Jeezy that were looking at Puff and Jay, and they were like, yo, I think I'm bigger than being a rapper. I'm a mogul. I want to get a clothing line. So they got a Cool and they got an 8732. If you're over 40 years old, there's a high probability you're wearing a Cool outfit. So they got a really good market that they hold on to, and they're making, you know, good urban money. So there's still urban brands that are making money, but you know, we're talking about, I don't know, I'm guessing checking pockets, but who knows, 40, 50 million. We're not talking about no 200, 300, $400 million. And then, you know, from what the internet will tell you, you got Diamond Supply at their peak doing 80 million. You know, 3-4 years of that, maybe 5 years. But those numbers are impossible now. Diamond Supply can't do $80 million right now. It's just the game is different. So to answer your question completely, it's different and more people can get a piece of the pie, and the pie is growing. So it's a little bit of both. Pie gets bigger, more slices, everybody gets to eat something. But is it enough where, you know, can you make enough revenue strictly off of clothing and then go build another business? You know, it's tough to get out ahead of yourself when you got to constantly reinvest in inventory and you're, you know, just skimming margins off the top after salespeople get paid, after your offices are paid, inventory is paid. So the old days of just having a few companies making a shit ton of money, they're definitely over. But there's a huge opportunity for people that, you know, have followings to extend their marketing initiatives and really monetize them through apparel, because it's so easy to make clothes. Which one is it? Is the game fucked up, or is the game, you know, better for different people?
It's kind of like how the music industry is then. It's like, you know, you're not going to get these big budgets anymore, but it's easier for, you know, SoundCloud rapper to make it. You know?
100%. In the same way a rapper can just, you know, get a record and then go tour and make mad bread off that one record. The same thing. You can spread one idea so fast now with social media. You can make mad money off one T-shirt. The problem is that nobody knows when to exit.
That's always the tricky part. Because you fall in love with it, and you start feeling yourself, and your ego gets in the way, and then
that's it. So if you're coming at it from the perspective of I just want to make money off clothing, then you got to always keep your eye on the exit. You got to know that the train is pulling into the station at some point. Like, what are you doing? You know. So that's the best way I could say it, is that you just got to know what you're getting into it for and figure out what you're trying to get out of it. And if you're just trying to get the money, make sure you get out of that shit as fast as possible before your money gets stuck in inventory. Because with every product, there's going to be a time where you just can't sell it.
I know that firsthand.
I mean, imagine you got a shirt right now with like fucking gold foil wings everywhere, and it like says Ed Hardy on the front. Like, what are you doing with that? Like, you're not going nowhere with that right now. But wait a year, and that shit will probably be worth $400.
Probably. Now, wrapping up, what is something you want to leave the people with watching? Something you want to leave with? Whether you want to, vent, or you want to plug something in, or you just want to drop a gem and give some advice. What are like your last parting words?
You know, that's a really good question. I think there's a lot of things to say. I could always vent. I could always drop a gem. But
you could do them all.
I think most importantly, when people see A&I, they know what we stand for. They know, how we move. They know what, we represent when they see our logo.
What does 8 and 9 stand for? I recently saw an interview, you explained it, but, for the people watching, what is it?
I mean, 8 is infinite. 9 is a number of knowledge. It's also a perfect number. It's like we kind of interpret it ourselves as, like an infinite progress. It's like a quest for perfection. It's like, which I appreciate. But truthfully, we made that name because it looked cool, it sounded dope, it worked, and then, the research came to follow, Sometimes shit just comes together. But for us, it's definitely about, waking up every day and being really hard on yourself, putting that hard lens on yourself and saying, am I, a better person than I was yesterday? Am I more, successful in my business? Am I more, whatever, efficient with my workouts? Point being is, everybody on my team shares that same mentality. And if you look at the people we collaborate with, it's just always about that progression and being, not satisfied with where you were the day before, because even though you did, the best you could do and you was well prepared, you got to grow. Yeah. Especially in clothing, like if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's, that's with anything. So, for the people that's listening, it just depends. If you're trying to, get your hustle on with the clothing game, you can definitely do it. The resources are there. If you got a budget, you could call us. We'll definitely help you. But if not, Google is your friend, and you could really just do the research and figure out how to make it. But I would say that it's not glamorous at all. Like there's nothing that's like, yo, this is fucking a great business. Like it's just not like that. So if you're getting into it like on some fly shit, on some wavy shit, then you probably won't make any money, But if you come into it, kind of cold-blooded and you're willing to, give the market what it wants, then you could definitely make money. And tying back to what the woman was telling you about the game being dead, at 60 years old, she sees it through a different lens. So like the game kind of is dead, but her game is dead. And what that game is, designing, spring 2019 in fucking summer of 2017. Like we can't even make, what are you eating for dinner tomorrow?
I don't fucking know.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You think who the fuck knows what you're wearing in 18 months?
Yeah.
You see? So the world is just different. Like the window in which things happen is so much tighter, that I do think that aspect of the business is dead. And one thing that I actually will leave people with, it's Zara. Everybody knows the retailer. Like 5 years ago, nobody knew the retailer. The dude from Zara is the top 1, 2, or 3 richest dude in the world every year.
Really?
Exactly. So check that out. I don't know his name. It's Emerald Ali, some shit. But Google it, owner of Zara. Look at him, peep his story. And he'll support, the old lady's theory, which is that the business is dead. He'll tell you that he's not in the clothing business. He's in a supply chain business. He's in a logistics business. So when you research him, it'll show you a lot about getting to that really high level, because they have manufacturing facilities in every region where they're popping. And with them, they're in the data business. That's why a lot of people don't understand about clothing. And when you get to that big level to do that revenue like that, you're not looking at styles. Nobody's looking at a black T-shirt that says Lee County on it. They're looking at SKU SSLC black. It's a numbers game. So that's what Zara has really figured out. Like they got their supply chain and their system so tight that they've gotten to that level where it's billions and billions and billions of dollars. And if you want to like really figure out like where fashion is going, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom, Saks, like all these people are trying to do like the Zara model. How do we get this thing to market quicker? How do we, streamline, our manufacturing? And like you and I talked off camera, like I talked about my business of manufacturing for people and helping other people bring their vision to life. We get a lot of clients that are making clothes that are good quality at 120 to 180 days out.
Yeah.
I can do that in 35 days. So even people that have successful businesses, they come to us and they're like, how do we get this thing done quick? And I can manufacture anything custom in 30 days. So it's just evolving, man. It's just a different game.
Damn. So everyone watching, I know y'all learned something, because I learned fucking a shitload of shit right now. My mind's been blown. Shit is amazing.
It's been expanded.
Expanded. All right, man. This is your boy Bugs Lavoelife. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we out.